Okay, unit 4. Final packet review. So, number 1. Notice we have these markings here, these arc marks, saying that we have congruent angles. If we have congruent angles, two congruent angles, it means we have an isosceles triangle. These are the base angles. So that means this is equal to this. We need to make our marks like that. So once again, all we have to do is say that 2x plus 20 is equal to 6. So we're going to subtract 20. That gives us 2x equals negative 14. Divide by 2, x equals negative 7. That's okay. We can have a negative number for an answer. We just can't have a negative number for a side. Let's see what happens when we plug this in. What's 2 times negative 7? Negative 14. What's negative 14 plus 20? 6. So it works out. Again, over here, number 2. We have arc marks equal base angles. So the legs of the isosceles triangle are equal. 2x plus 25 equals 7. Subtract 25 from both sides. 7 minus 25 is negative 18. Divide by 2, x is negative 9. That's okay. We can have that. We plug negative 9 in right here. That's negative 18 plus 25 is 7. It works out. Negative numbers are okay for x's, just not for sides. Okay, now we're going the opposite direction. Notice we have our sides marked equal, which means we have an isosceles triangle. So x right here is our vertex angle, meaning these are base angles, and they must be the same. So if this angle is 40, so is this one. So what do they add up to? 80 degrees, which leaves 180 minus 80, x is 100 degrees. Okay? Now, don't just go and say x is 80 right now. It's not. 80 is the vertex angle. These two angles are the same, which means this is also x. Now, there's a couple ways to go about this. We can say 180 minus 80 is 100, but that's got to be divvied up to both x's. So if you divide that by 2, you get 50 degrees each. The more algebraic way to do it is to say x plus 80 equals 180. So that's 2x plus 80 equals 180. Subtract 80 from both sides. Now we're right back caught up to what we just did. Divide by 2, x is 50. Okay? Number 5. Each figure shows a triangle with one of its angle bisectors. Remember, bisector means to cut into two equal sections. What we're cutting is the angle. So right now, that blue line you see, or that on here is blue line, that means these two angles are equal. Angle 1 equals angle 2. They're congruent. Well, here's angle 1. Here's angle 2. They're congruent to each other, so we solved it that way. 2x plus 8 equals 6x. Minus 2x from both sides gives us 4x. And when we divide by 4, we get x is equal to 2. And what I just demonstrated for you is the biggest common mistake that happens in these problems. What did I do wrong? Hit pause and ask yourself right now what I did wrong. Okay, I went too fast. Angle 1 is 2x plus 8. That's right here, 2x plus 8. This is not angle 2. I just kind of flew through it as happens very often, I did not pay attention to the details that I'm always talking about. Angle 1 is equal to angle 2, which means angle 2 is also 2x plus 8. QSR is the overall angle. QSR is this angle right here, the combined 1 and 2. So what I need to do actually is say 2x plus 8 plus 2x plus 8 equals 6x, or simply 2 times 2x plus 8 equals 6x. Got to pay attention to the details. And you know, of course, I did that on purpose just to show you a lesson. So that's 4x plus 16 equals 6x. Now let's try subtracting 4x. 6x minus 4x is 2x. Now when we divide, we get x equals 8, and that's a much better answer. Now we can check it. 6 times 8 is 48. So the overall angle is 48 degrees. That's the beauty about math. Remember, you can check your work. If I plug 8 in here, 2 times 8 is 16, plus 8 is 24, and 2 times 24 is 48. It checks out. Number 6. Let's pay attention and go slowly this time. Find x if the measured angle 2 is 54x. So this is 54x. And angle 1 is 55x minus 1. Well, this is the one I was wanting to do before when I wasn't paying attention. We're given 1 and 2. And since this is a bisector, they are equal to each other. So 54x equals 55x minus 1. Now you got to be careful with this one. I'm going to show the work on this one because it's tricky. Notice, I get negative 1x equals negative 1, not x. If you raise students don't show your work, you might say x is negative 1, which it's not. Because think about it. If I plug in negative 1 right here, that gives me a negative 54 degree angle. Can't happen. So I need to divide by negative 1 on both sides to get x equals 1. Now it makes sense. 54 times 1 is 54 degrees. 55 times 1 is 55 minus 1 is 54 degrees. So both angles are 54 degrees. Solve for x. Okay. Well, what we got to pay attention to is these marks. Those are equal, which makes G the midpoint. And here we have 2 marks and 2 marks, which means H is a midpoint. This line connecting the midpoint is called the mid-segment. It's the segment connecting the midpoints, mid-segment. Now if you remember, the mid-segment, let's try this little trick. The mid-segment is half of the third side that is parallel to. So it takes 2 of these to make 1 of these. So you literally write that. 2 of these to make 1 of these. So that gives us 2x plus 30 equals x plus 23. I subtract x from both sides. I subtract 30 from both sides. That gives me negative 7. Well, let's see if that works. Again, let's check our math. If I put in negative 7 right here, 15 minus 7 is 8. If I put in negative 7 right here, 23 plus negative 7 is 16. And 16 is double 8. My math works out. So again, number 8 is the same setup. This is a mid-segment because this and this are midpoints. Which means it takes 2 of the mid-segments to equal the opposite of the other base, the parallel side. So that's 4x minus, not 40, 20. That's ugly. 4x minus 20 equals x plus 7. I'm going to subtract x from both sides to get 3x. I'm going to add 20 to both sides to get 27. Now when I divide by 3, x is equal to 9. Again, let's plug it in. 2 times 9 is 18. Minus 10 is 8 again. And here, 9 plus 7 is 16. And again, 16 is double 8. It works out. Number 9. Each figure shows a triangle with one or more of its medians. Well, remember, when the medians cross, this point here is called the centroid. Now, we're just showing 2 of the medians in this problem. I'm just showing you the third. That's what it looks like. The median, remember, goes from the vertex to the opposite midpoint. So these are all midpoints. Now remember, there's a certain relationship with midsegments. The shorter piece is half the longer piece. So I'm going to clean this up now. Put the numbers in we're given to us. It says find EI if JI is 8. Well, we're not even worrying about the midsegments right here. We're worrying about the sides. But remember, we talked about these being midpoints, correct? Which means these are equal to each other. And these are equal to each other. So if JI, which is the whole overarching piece, is 8, then each of these pieces must be 4. So EI is 4. Okay, we're here to number 10. Now this time we're working with the medians. It says DJ, find DJ right here if SJ is 12. Now there's 2 ways to go about this. Remember, this number is half of this number. So some people might go, oh, x is 6. Well, no, because let's try that. And some people did this. Let's see how we make hypotheses and test them out. If this number, if x is 6, then 2x is 12. And 12 plus 6 is 18. And Sj is not 18. So there's 2 ways to go about this. We can do guess and check. We know DJ has to be less than 6. So let's try the next number, 4. 2 times that is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. We got our answer. DJ is 4. Now another way to do this is if you remember also, besides having a 2-to-1 ratio inside, the small piece is 1/3 the total median. And the long piece is 2/3 the total median. So this is, if you remember it, this is just another way to go about it. So 1/3 of 12 is 4. So you could have gotten there right away without guessing and checking. Just 2 different ways to go about it. Now, if they would have told you that DJ was 4 and find SD, it would have been 8. If they gave you SD is 16 and find DJ, that would be 8, half of it. So there's a bunch of questions that could go along with that. Number 11, RQ. So we're trying to find RQ. If UQ is 5.5, right here, 5.5. Well, remember, if this line is a median, this is a midpoint, which means this is 5.5, which means RQ is the total of both of them, or 11. Number 12, find WE. That's the short piece. If JE is 33.3. So again, we're not given the long side, so we can't just divide by 2. But remember, the short piece is 1/3 of the total median. So if I divide this by 3, I get 1.1. So WE is 11.1. Find X if GW is X. Okay, so we're trying to find GW right here. If IW is X minus 6. So this piece right here is X minus 6. So remember, there's a few different ways to go about this. IW is 1/3 of GW. And then we just substitute. What's IW? X minus 6 equals 1/3 of GW, which is X. Now, we can move this X over by subtraction and deal with fractions, or some people like to get rid of the fraction, the denominator. We can do that by multiplying both sides by 3. Over here, we get 3x minus 18, and over here, we just get x. Now, if I minus 3x from both sides, again, be careful, because you end up with a negative 2x, which is okay, because we have negative 18 over here. And when we divide by negative 2, x is 9. I think there's an error on your answer key because I don't know why it has an x and a y. So let's test our math. We're saying x is 9. Well, if we plug in 9 right here, 9 minus 6, that's 3. Which makes this 6. And 6 plus 3 is 9. And GW is the entire part, which is 9. So our math works out. 14. Find x if VQ, okay, so VQ right here, the entire section is 3x. And CQ, right there, is 2x minus 8. Well, again, CQ is 1/3 of VQ. This is a nice way to do it. You just write what's given to us and then substitute. What is CQ? 2x minus 8 equals 1/3 of VQ, which is 3x. Now here the nice thing is I don't have to worry about getting rid of this denominator, because right now if I multiply 1/3 times 3, I get x is equal to 2x minus 8. I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2x. Again, be careful, because I'm going to end up with negative 8 equals negative 1x. If I divide by negative 1, x is equal to 8. And again, I can plug in my math numbers and check it. So if 8 is x, the entire line is 24. Right here, if I plug in 8, 2 times 8 is 16, minus 8 is 8, so the small piece is 8. If we double that, we get 16, and 8 plus 16 is 24. Again, the math works out. Okay. Find the midpoint given these endpoints. Okay, well, finding midpoints is a simple calculation, in which case we just add them together. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is different than what's given to you in yours. Oh, wait, no, it's not. 15 and 16. Oh, I just found an error. These don't match up. Okay, 9 and 10 match up. 11 and 12 match up. There's an error. Well, you just got a bonus 13 and 14. That's why it doesn't match your answer key, because these are not on yours. But they're still fun problems. So let's work 15 and 16, which actually on yours, these are 13 and 14. 6, 5, 8, 10, yeah, 14. Find the midpoint, okay? And then I'll add in the other two. Okay, so find the midpoint. Midpoint is just x1 plus x2 divided by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So all we're going to do is, and if this helps, do it. Add my x's, negative 8 plus 6 divided by 2. Add my y's, negative 2 plus negative 7 divided by 2. 6 minus 8 is negative 2 divided by 2. And this is negative 9 divided by 2. So that gives us negative 1, negative 4.5, which does match your answer sheets. Okay, 6 plus negative 8 divided by 2, and 5 plus negative 10 divided by 2. Again, if it helps to do this, go ahead and do it. 6 minus 8, again, is negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. 5 minus 10 is negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. And there's my midpoints. Now, let's go on to your 15 and 16. And the instructions say, find the other endpoint. This was a little trick here. They're working backwards here. So you're given an endpoint of negative 5, negative 1. And you're given a midpoint of negative 3, negative 8. So let's go back to the formula. The formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2 gives me the x of the midpoint. Well, before we knew x1 and x2. But here we know one endpoint, and here we know the midpoint, but we don't know this. So we just write what we know. Negative 5 plus unknown divided by 2 equals negative 3. Some number added to negative 5 divided by 2 will be negative 3. So now we just do some basic algebra. Get rid of the 2 by multiplication. And then we have negative 5 plus x. Or I can write it in the proper order. Negative 5 plus x equals negative 6. And now when I add 5 to both sides, I get x equals negative 1. So again, let's check out our math. If one endpoint is negative 5, and we think the other endpoint is negative 1, divide by 2, does that equal negative 3? Well, negative 5 plus negative 1 is negative 6. Divide by 2 is negative 3. Check. So we know the x is right. Now we're going to do the same thing for our y's. y1 plus y2 divided by 2 equals y of the midpoint. So we know this and we know this. So -1 plus an unknown y, the other endpoint, divided by 2 equals -8. Again, multiply by 2. -1 plus y equals -16. Add 1 to both sides, -15. Again, we check our work. -1 plus -15 divided by 2 is -8. So my other endpoint is -1, comma, -15. Which does not match up to the answer sheet. 16. Endpoint, 6, -5. Midpoint, -3, -1. So, we do the same thing. First we deal with our x's. So, one endpoint plus an unknown endpoint divided by 2 equals -3. Multiply both sides by 2. Cancel. 6 plus the other endpoint is equal to -6. Subtract 6 from both sides, x equals -12. Check it out. -12 plus 6 is -6. Divide by 2 is -3. It works out. Now our y's. -5 plus an unknown divided by 2 equals -1. Multiply by 2. We get -5 plus y equals -2. Add 5 to both sides, and we get 3. Let's check it out. 3 plus -5 is -2, divided by 2 is -1. So our other endpoint is -12, comma, 3. Okay. Did I just do that? Okay, so, sorry about that. That's what we just did. Okay? Now, this is your 17 and 18. Sorry about all that, guys. Find the distance. So the distance formula, remember, is distance equals the square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. So, distance equals square root x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. So -6 minus 2 is -8, squared is 64. -8 minus 3 is -11, squared is 121. So that's the square root of 185. And you can just leave it just like that. You could put it as a decimal, but that's fine. That's what's on your answer sheet. Again, distance is square root of x minus x, be careful there, squared. I watch out for that double negative, plus y minus y squared. So remember, this becomes positive. So -8 plus 6 is -2, squared is 4. -2 minus 5 is -7, squared is 49. Which makes the square root of 53. Okay, so this is your your 19 and 20 on yours. G is the centroid. It says that BE is 12, right here. Find BG and GE. Well, remember, BG, this section right here, is 1/3 of the total line. So 1/3 of 12 is 4. And if you double that, this is 4, this must be 8. Okay, DG is 7. Well, that makes GA 14. And that makes DA 21. Okay, so this one is 21 for you guys. 21 on the answer key. Okay, so perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular means you're going to have a 90-degree mark. Okay? So we're looking for 90-degree marks. We have a 90-degree mark here and here. But bisector means it cuts a line into two equal parts. Well, obviously B is outside the triangle. There are not two equal parts. But notice that D is the midpoint because we have EC split up into ED and DC, which are equal. So that means HD is a perpendicular bisector. It drops down, does not have to come from a vertex. It can, but doesn't have to. It drops down at a 90-degree angle and cuts the line in half. And that does cut EC in half. Angle bisector. Well, we're looking for angle marks. There's only one set of angle marks on here marked equal. Right there. Those are the only angles marked congruent to each other. Which line does that? FC. Median. A median has to come from a vertex. And it has to cut a line in half. I don't know what just happened there, but there we go. So it has to come from a vertex. Well, from A, the only line coming out from there is right there. That does not cut anything in half. B doesn't have anything. C, right here, does not break AE in half. But if you notice, E cuts AC into half. Two equal sections, AG and GC. So therefore, EG is a median. An altitude. An altitude must come from a vertex and be 90 degrees. Well, again, there's only two 90-degree marks. We talked about HG not coming from a vertex. This one comes from a vertex. So AB is an altitude. And then we're looking for a midsegment. A midsegment connects two midpoints. Well, we just said this was a midpoint. And earlier we said this was a midpoint. Notice the marks. So what line connects the two midpoints? DG. Okay, this is 22, and this is 23 on your paper. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation to the given points. So, we're given a point and slope, so we can use point-slope form to start off with. Y minus -5 equals 4/3 x minus 1. Now, we distribute the 4/3, and we'll move the 5 over. So we get y plus 5 equals 4/3 x minus 4/3. I'm going to change it to 1 1/3 for easier math. Now when I subtract 5 from both sides, I get y equals 4/3. This doesn't want to make a 3 there, does it? 4/3. Sorry, not working. One more try. Y equals 4/3 x minus 6 1/3. On your answer key, it's 19/3, but that's the same thing. So again, here we do the same thing. Y minus -2 equals 1 times x minus -2. You don't have to distribute to 1, so y plus 2 equals x plus 2. Subtract 2 from both sides, and you get y equals x. And that is slope-intercept form. Because what's the slope? 1. What's the y-intercept? 0. We don't write it that way. We just leave y equals x. Okay, slope-intercept form. Well, we need slope. So we have to do yum-yums on the picnic table. So 4 minus 5 over 0 minus 4. -1 over -4, which is 1/4. Now, here's the nice thing. We could technically do what we did before and do the point slope form, but we have a little secret here. This is the y-intercept. So if you recognize that, you can go right to the slope-intercept form. Y equals 1/4 x plus 4. Now, if you didn't recognize that, or let's say it was 1/4, and you didn't have the y-intercept given, you'd have to do point slope form with one of those 2 points, and either one will be fine, and then convert it over. So, 27. Notice, we do not have the y-intercept. This is the x-intercept, so that doesn't help us. So first we need to do our yum-yums on the picnic table. So 0 minus 3 over -2 minus 1, which is -3 over -3, which is positive 1. Okay? Oh, don't forget this is 24 and 25. Okay, so our slope is 1. Now, since we don't have the y-intercept, we have to do one of these points. And I'm actually going to pick the y minus 0, because that's easy. Nothing to move over. We could do y minus 3 equals 1 times x minus -2. Well, that's just simply y. And this is x plus 2. And we're done. Now, just to show you, you could have used the other point, just a little bit more work. Y minus 3 equals 1 times x minus 1. Well, that's y minus 3 equals x minus 1. When we add 3 to both sides, that's what we get, x plus 2. So you could have done it either way. It would have worked out. Moving on. So if that was 24 and 25, then that makes this 26 through 29. 26, 27, 28, 29. 30, 31. Okay. So right slope-intercept form of the equation. So it says parallel to 1/2 x minus 1. That's my m. m is 1/2. Well, if that line is at 1/2, then this one is too, because they're parallel. I don't need this anymore. I have everything I need right here. Now, once again, I don't have a lot of room here, but I need to start off with point slope form. Y minus 4 equals 1/2 x minus -2, which is x plus 2. If I distribute the 1/2, I get y minus 4 equals 1/2 x plus 1. Add 4 to both sides. I get y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Okay, 27. Parallel, so it's going to be the same slope again. M equals -7/4. I don't need this anymore. Point slope form, y minus y equals -7/4 x minus -4, which is plus 4. Now I distribute the -7/4. Y minus 4 equals -7/4 x. When I multiply by 4, the 4s are going to cancel, so I get -7. Again, I could have done -7 times 4, which is -28, then divide by 4, -7. It makes no difference. Now when I add 4 to both sides, I get y equals -7/4 x. -7 plus 4 is -3. Did I say plus 3? It's -3. I don't know if I said plus 3 or not. Okay, perpendicular. Well, this m is -1. Opposite reciprocal to -1 is +1. And then we don't need this anymore. And now again, I go to point slope form. Y minus my y equals m, which is 1. I don't need to really write it. X minus 1. I can put the 1 there, but when you distribute it, it means nothing. I'm going to add 3 to both sides and get x plus 2. Okay? Here, my slope is 2/3. Here, my slope is -3/2. Now I'm done with this. Y minus -3, y minus y, equals m, -3/2, times x minus 4. Y plus 3 equals -3/2 x distributed. 3 times 4 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. And negative times negative is positive. Or 2 goes into 4, 2 times 3 is 6. However you want to do it. Then I'm going to minus 3 from both sides and get y equals -3/2 x plus 3. And that's it. Okay, draw a picture, solve for x and the sides of the triangle, and then find the perimeter. So ABC. A, B, C is isosceles with AB congruent to BC. AB is 4x minus 3, BC is 2x plus 5, and AC is x plus 2. Well, first what I'm going to do is set the two legs equal to each other. 4x minus 3 equals 2x plus 5. Subtract 2x, add 3. Divide by 2, x is 4. So I found my x. Now I need to find all three sides and the perimeter. So I'll plug 4 in here. 4 times 4 is 16, minus 3 is 13. Plug 4 in here, I don't have to, but just to prove it, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 5 is 13. Plug 4 in here. 4 plus 2 is 6. So there's all three sides. AB is 13. BC is 13. And AC is 6. Then the perimeter, just add all those up. 13 plus 13 is 26, plus 6 is 32. This was not on your answer key for some reason, so there you go. DEF. DEF is equilateral. DE is 4x plus 1. EF is 3x plus 10. And DF is 5x minus 8. Well, if it's equilateral, all of them are equal, so you can set any of these two equal to each other. I'll just pick the top two, 4x plus 1 equals 3x plus 10. Subtract 3x, you get x. Subtract 1, you get 9. All three sides are 9. And so the perimeter is 27. And so DE, EF, and DF are all 9. Okay, this is 32 on yours. So the triangle has vertices at A at 2, 0, B at 4, 3, and C at 8, 5. A very flat triangle. Put our B up here. Okay, so 2, 0. Oh, wait a minute. Your paper says 4, 7. So I'm going to go with what you have. 2, 0, 4, 7, and 8, 5. Not so flat anymore. Okay, graph triangle. Done. Find the midpoint of BC. So that's between those two. So that's going to be x plus x divided by 2. And y plus y divided by 2. 8 plus 4 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. 7 plus 5 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. So the midpoint is at 6, 6. Which looks about right. Find the slope of BC. Well, there's two ways to do that. You could do y minus y, 5 minus 7 over 8 minus 4. Should be a negative slope that's going down to the right. Negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. But you can also just count. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. So a couple different ways to do that. Write the equation of the perpendicular bisector to BC in point-slope form. Well, that means it's got to be, if this is the slope of BC, then this slope has to be opposite and reciprocal. 2 over 1 or just 2. And it's going to the midpoint at 6, 6. So I need to use that information. Y minus 6 equals 2 x minus 6. But it says point slope form, so there you go. Y minus 6 equals 2x minus 6. Find the slope of the median from A to BC. Okay? So from A, that's right there. So again, if I want to do it mathematically, I take the midpoint, 6, 6, and A, 2, 0, and do 6 minus 0, y minus y, over 6 minus 2. 6 over 4, which is 3/2. But I could also just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there I can just count on the graph. 6 over 4. Up 6, right 4. 3/2. Write the equation for the median in slope-intercept form. So I know my slope is 3/2. And I can use either point, 2, 0 or 6, 6. But I have to start in point slope form. So y, I'm going to go with the 2, 0, just because it's got that nice 0 there, equals 3/2 x minus 2. So y equals 3/2 x minus 3, because the 2's cancel. Find the slope of the altitude from A to BC. Well, the altitude is from A to BC, which once again, if it's perpendicular to BC, okay, well, if the slope, the altitude has to come in 90 degrees at BC, which means it's got to be the opposite reciprocal of the slope of BC. So just like the perpendicular bisector, it's going to have a slope of 2. But remember, it's coming from A, which means we have to use, it's got to come from a vertex, which is A. So we have to use the point 2, 0, and the slope of 2. So we start off with point slope form right here, y minus 0, which is just y, equals 2 x minus 2. There you go. Now the triangle, what is it? Well, we have to find the distance for all 3 sides. So we're going to do the distance of AB, the distance for BC, and the distance for AC. So AB, square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Squared is 4. 0 minus 7, negative 7, squared is 49. That's the square root of 53. BC, square root, x minus x squared, plus y minus y squared. Well, 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Square that is 16. 7 minus 5 is 2. Squared is 4. This is the square root of 20. And now AC. Square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Squared is 36. 0 minus 5 is negative 5 plus 25. So that's the square root of 61. Therefore, this is scalene, because none of the 3 sides match. AB and AC are close, which when you look at it, it may not look like that, but, well, AB and AC, hold on. Yeah, AB and AC look close, but they're actually not. And if you do the math, the square root of 53 is 7.3, and square root of 61 is 7.8.